couple of weeks ago, I just showed off the demo mode of the U-110, and I got a couple of questions asked on the channel about the U-110 specifically. So I thought I'd just do a quick video answering that specific question. And the question that was asked was, can I play multiple sounds from different cards at the same time on the U-110? And the answer is yes, you can. It is possible, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So before we get started, you'll notice my U-110 is off, and you insert the cards into the U-110 by just slipping them in and pushing them all the way in until they seated effectively. So this unit takes specific Roland cards or other manufacturers if they were compatible with these, but these are the official Roland sound library cards, which I've collected over a number of years. So that's what this unit takes. The other thing I found with the unit is that I don't know whether this is a quirk of my unit or whether it's a quirk across all of them, but my unit is a little bit temperamental. I mean, after all, it is 30 years old now, but it is a little bit temperamental, and it likes the cards to be inserted into the unit before you power it up. It tends to recognise them better, otherwise it comes back with a card error. So in order to keep it happy, I've inserted 3 cards, which are synthesizer, which is 08, orchestral winds, which is 06, and orchestral strings, which is 05, and I'm going to power it up. So before I actually get going and show you how to do this, it's worthwhile just taking a couple of minutes to understand what the U-110 is all about. So originally this unit was put out as sound reinforcement, and it is a traditional Roppler, as we would now know these units to be. In other words, you can't really edit the sounds in there. They're pre-stock, pre-canned sounds that you can load into the unit itself and just play. So to that end, the unit comes from the factory with 99 pre-programmed sounds, or in Roland speak tones, which are arranged into a series of 64 preset patches. Okay, and I'll go on to that in a sec. So out of the box, you can plug it in and you can play. Okay, and when the unit comes on, it automatically goes into play mode. If I press some keys on my keyboard, that's the unit playing an internal sound. So the next thing to understand is that in order to get a tone into a patch, what you have to do is you have to add it to a patch part. Okay, they don't make this stuff easy, but this is how it works. So a patch can have 6 parts, and each part can have a tone assigned to it. So in other words, a patch can play 6 tones simultaneously. You have to be careful when you're doing this, because the unit itself is only 31 note polyphonic. I know, I don't understand why it's 31 note polyphonic, but it is 31 note polyphonic. Which means that if you start adding in additional tones to a patch, every time, if you have the tone triggering on the same keystroke, effectively that tone keystroke is one polyphonic or one voice. So to give you an example of that, if I had 2 tones all both triggering on the same keystroke, then my unit will go down to effectively 15 note polyphonic, because it's half of 31 with no fraction. So in other words, half of 30, because 31 is not divisible by 2. Okay, so you can only play 15 notes at one go. If you had 4 tones triggering on the same key, that goes down from 15 to 7. Okay, because again, 31 is not divisible by 4, 28 is divisible by 4, and it's 7, so you end up with 7-note polyphonic. Okay, so that's how the unit does its polyphonic. And what will then happen is if you start playing more notes than the polyphonic, the note at the end will just drop off, irrespective of whether it's needed or triggered. Okay, so you need to be careful when you're setting this up, because, as I said, the more notes you get, if you start playing some complex pieces, you could end up running out of notes before you've actually finished playing whatever it is. So, you know, a couple of complex chords and that's it, you've had it. So a part also gives you a number of other things. So when you add a tone to a part, you also tell the part what MIDI channel to trigger on, what your keyboard range is, and the unit will operate from C-1 to G9, although, to be honest, many keyboards are not that big. My 88 key piano is what, C0 to 8, I think, although I could be talking rubbish. What output levels you want, so how loud do you want it, what pitch do you want it, so you can detune it slightly, and if you want a low frequency filter on it. So all these are added into the mix when you add the tone to a part, and then obviously you then add the part to a patch, and that's how you build up what you need in order to play multiple card tones at the same time using the U-110. So now that we've got the U-110 set up, so now we've got some background on the unit, we need to select a patch that we're going to alter and save our new settings to. So as I said, there are 64 of these. Using the increase and decrease keys, you can scroll through those patches and you'll see that P60, P59, P58, okay, are various patches there. So I'm going to alter P60. Okay, so I've got P60 on screen, and that's the patch that we're going to alter. So now that we're going to alter this patch, first thing we have to do is put the system into edit mode. We prove that by pressing the edit key, and as you can see, the edit key lights up. And it gives me three options: setup, patch and utility, with patch flashing. So I'm going to select patch by pressing the enter key. The next thing it wants to know is how do I want to alter this patch. So I want to alter the part, so it is flashing. I could alter the common parts of the patch, or I could write the patch back, but I don't want to do that at this particular point. Okay, so I'm going to select, because part is flashing, I'm going to select that by pressing enter. I can change which one I want by using the arrow keys. So I press enter. And now I am actually in the patch, and I'm looking at part 1. Now, as I said, you can edit up to 6 parts into a patch. So I've got part 1 up here. To change the part, I press the part button, as you saw me do, and then I use the arrow keys to go part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and that's it, 6, and I'm going to go back to 1. Okay, so I can edit any one of those 6 parts in this patch. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I want to edit part 1 in this particular instance. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go into the basics of the part, and the basics are the tone. Okay, so I'm going to, as you can see, BAS is flashing here, which stands for basic, level, pitch, LFO. It's flashing. If I didn't want to use that one, I could just use the arrow keys to move backwards and forwards, but in this instance I'm just going to go enter. Now, as you can see from the screen, that it is actually flashing I for internal, 99 for tone 99, which happens to be the drum track, and it's also coming back and telling me it's the drums. Now, I don't want to use internal 99. I want to use one of the tones off one of my cards. So in order to do that, what I do is I use the arrow keys to make the I flash, like so, and then I use the increase and decrease keys to move to the cards. Now, this one always catches people out on this unit, in that people assume that card 01 is position 01 in the 4 positions available on the unit. No. What 01 stands for is the actual number on the card. So if I was to pop this card just in front of the camera like so, you can see right at the top right hand corner it says SN-U110-15. That is card number 15 in the series. Okay, I don't have card number 1 loaded into this unit at the moment. I have 5, 6 and 8. So if I use the increase and decrease keys here to go up to cut to 5, you see it says no. The phrase "no card" has gone. However, there aren't 99 tones on this card, so by using the arrow keys I can flip to the tone number, and using the increase and decrease keys I can now choose a tone. So I'm going to put a harp on this one. Okay, so that's tone number 10 on card number 5. Now that I'm happy with that, I press the exit button to move back up 1 level. So now I have set the part or the tone for part 1. I'm going to repeat this and do the tone for part 2. And I'm not going to really speak as I do this, okay? Part 2. Basic. Enter. External card number 6. Tone. So let's see what we've got. Select French horn. Enter. Right. So now what I've done is I've now got tones associated with part 1 and part 2. And just for the purpose of this sort of demo, I'm going to stop the video and I'm just going to make sure there's no tones assigned to parts 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so I've modified a couple of the other parts in this particular patch while I've been off video. Next thing to do is we need to set the MIDI channel for each one of these patches. So to do that, you select your patch, your part, sorry, which is here, and it's obviously flashing at harp, which is what I selected earlier. And then what we do is we actually use the arrow keys to scroll to the next screen. So the first thing it's asking me is where do I want the output assigned to. So assigning it to 3 is part of the standard mix, so that's fine. Then it's asking me what MIDI channel do I want to receive on. So this is currently set to MIDI channel 10. Don't want it on 10, I actually want it on 1. So I go like so. And any program change parameters, do I want this to be subject to program change? So if your controller sends program change information and you want it to recognise that, yes you can. So there you go, so that one's now set correctly. I can now do the same with part 2. So what I did was I pressed the part, the arrow key to select 2, and as you can see the channel on 2 is now currently set to 2. I'm going to use the decrease key to set that to 1. Okay. So assuming I've got all that correct, now when I press my keys on my keyboard, you can hear the combination of all the different items that I've just selected. So by going through that and setting a part for every single, a MIDI channel for every single part, if you set them all to 1, they will all trigger on channel 1. When you play channel 1 on your keyboard, you should be able to play all those tones from the keyboard. So the final thing we need to do is we need to now write that tone. So if I go exit, 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 and exit again, what you'll see is in the window here it says temporary. So that basically means if I was to move off this patch, as it currently is standard, I'd lose all the data. And if I was to switch the unit off, I would definitely lose all the data because it's not been written to memory. So in order to write this to memory, what we need to do is we need to go into write mode. So to get us into write mode, what we need to do is we press the edit key again, and yes, we do want to go into the patch, but this time we want to go into write. Okay, so we use the arrow key to move us across to the WRT selection, and we press enter. And it's asking me now, what do I want to do with this? And what I want to do is I actually, first of all, probably need to take the memory protection off. So let's go and have a look. Yes, I need to take the memory protection off, like so. And then I need to go back. Now taking memory protection off, select write, select enter. I am going to write this to position 60, press enter, and it's completed. Next thing I need to do is go back again, back into memory protection, and I want to switch memory protection on like so. Come back, come back, come back, and now my multi-set is now set and ready to rock and roll. And as you can see, part 1, part 2, part 3 are all set to MIDI channel 1, and I set these to higher MIDI channels so they wouldn't trigger. Okay, and that is how you set up your patch on your Roland 110 to allow you to read multiple cards and internal sounds at the same time and trigger off the keyboard. Hopefully that's answered the question.